In today's video, we're exploring some NHL trade rumors around the Chicago Blackhawks as well as the Colorado Avalanche. Could we see some pretty substantial moves come out of either franchise? We also have some news on the NHL waiver wire. We have a total of 4 players on waivers today. We also have a bunch of injury updates. The Canucks have granted Travis Hamonic a leave of absence, and we have some fines and other news regarding the NHL players and other countries going to the Olympics. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and rumors to talk about tonight. Of course, you probably just caught my recent video out just a short time ago talking about the big news about Evander Kane being suspended for 21 games for COVID-19 protocol violations. Essentially, based on what was reported before, it's believed that he had passed off a fake vaccination record when he had to show proof of vaccination to the NHL. At least that's what was accused or alleged before. Obviously, there had to be something to that, and the league has handed him a 21-game suspension. And of course, he has been cleared, though, at least for now, of everything else. At this point, they looked into the gambling accusations. That was already cleared a few weeks back. And then, of course, he's also been accused of domestic violence from his soon-to-be ex-wife, and estranged wife, I guess we can call her. And right now, the NHL is saying that they can't find any evidence to substantiate that. So he's not being punished for that, and they're not making any further comment on that. So that's where things stand in that regard. We do have some other fines, which kind of fall into player safety and supplemental discipline, I guess you could say here today. Radek Faksa has been fined $5,000, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it is the maximum allowed under the CBA for slashing. He had a nasty slash on Sens young player Tim Stützle in Sunday's action. Got him right on the wrist. It looked quite nasty. Stützle went immediately off the ice down the tunnel, but was able to return. They did an x-ray. There was nothing broken. He's probably just going to have a bruise and some sore spot there for a while, but he did play and he looked okay. But the Sens dodged a major bullet there, because if Stützle would have had like a broken wrist or something and been out for a substantial amount of time, that would have been a big blow, especially where they're just getting ready to welcome back Brady Tkachuk, who is supposed to make his debut later this week when they play their next game at home against the Sharks. That would have been a major blow. You get Tkachuk back, but you lose Stützle. You're not really a whole lot further ahead in the matter. They started off 2-1, so that would have been a big blow for them. Some other news when it comes to fines, which actually was announced the day before, but I believe we didn't talk about it yesterday. But Flames defenseman Rasmus Andersson was also fined for roughing against Kailer Yamamoto of the Edmonton Oilers in the Saturday night game, the Battle of Alberta between the Flames and the Oilers. Yamamoto was in the goalie. Andersson really flipped out and kind of went over the edge a little bit, in my opinion. At one point, it looked like he actually headbutted him. I'm not sure that he actually did, because his hand was up. I think they might have determined that his hand might have caused him to not headbutt him, even though it looked like that's what his intent was. But either way, they felt like the roughing was over the edge, and they have fined him accordingly. And the Vancouver Canucks have placed Travis Hamonic on a leave of absence. There was reports earlier in the day that the Canucks had suspended Hamonic, but that apparently has been proven to be false. At this point, the Canucks are saying, and they put out a statement through their team with general manager Jim Benning, confirming that after discussions with the player, they have mutually agreed that he was going to take an unpaid leave of absence while he continues to deal with personal matters. There was reports, apparently, according to Elliot Friedman, who released a new podcast today on the 32 Thoughts, indicating that there was some rumors on the weekend that Hamonic was going to join the team and report. But that was quickly shot down, he said, and proven false. And now they got confirmation here that he is indeed, I guess in a way, he basically is suspended without pay. And you can choose the wording whatever you want. It's treated the same way when it comes to the salary cap, although the team doesn't want to use that word because they're working with him to help him, I guess, overcome these personal challenges. Many believe that it is related to being vaccinated, that he has not gone through that process, and obviously there might be some concerns there. So they're trying to, work around this. They're not trying to, be too harsh here and suspend them, but at the same time, they're giving him a leave of absence. It's the same impact on the cap that he's not going to count against it. So you might as well do that and work with them rather than be harsh on them and suspend them, when it gives you the same benefit cap-wise anyway. So I'm not sure if he'll be able to return or not. Blake Wheeler, the Jets captain, is now in COVID protocol, so he's going to miss a little bit of time. And some other injury updates, the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be without one of their star players, Nikita Kucherov. And according to head coach John Cooper, it could be long-term. Now, I already seen the whispers around social media today saying, oh yeah, here we go again. The Lightning are going to circumvent the cap, and Kucherov probably going to take the rest of the year off and come back for the game one of the playoffs. I don't believe that to be the case. If you watch the replay on what happened, it looked pretty innocent. It's not like he got a hit. There was nothing serious. It looked like he might have tweaked or pulled a groin because he was on his own. He immediately clinched, down in that region, and that's what it looked like. I'm guessing it's a groin issue. Groin issues can linger on. They can be longer term. They're not necessarily always long enough term to go on LTIR, though. I would be extremely shocked at this point if it's ended up being season ending. But who am I? I am no doctor, and I don't know, and I can't say that with certainty. But at this point, we have no reason to believe that they're playing the LTIR card for the to get up over the cap again, because they're already in that situation anyway. The Columbus Blue Jackets confirmed that Max Domi, who had a significant surgery in the offseason, has already battled enough stuff recently for injuries, is now out again. He's got 2 to 4 weeks with a rib fracture. So Columbus has actually had a decent little start. That's not going to be good news for them. The Penguins already without Crosby and Malkin, but I believe Sid should be back anytime now. I've lost Brian Rust. He's out week to week. So another injury for Pittsburgh. It seems to be a trend that they've dealt with the past couple of years, rashes of injuries. And it obviously doesn't help matters. They're in a real tough situation there. And we'll see if they can get their season on track and stay healthy here, hopefully before too long. Now, as I mentioned, we do have some NHL players on waivers today. We have 2 players on waivers for the purpose of being assigned, and we have 2 players on waivers for the purpose of an unconditional waiver so they can terminate the contract. Those players on unconditional waivers are Dmitry Timashov with the New York Islanders, so he's going to go back and play in Russia. At this point, he really wasn't getting any NHL opportunity, so it makes sense. And Kirill Maximov of the Edmonton Oilers prospect, same thing. He played over in Russia last year because of the shutdown and everything, and he's going back to. It just doesn't make sense for them to continue on if there's not going to be a North American opportunity to play at the highest level. For regular waivers today, we have the Montreal Canadiens placing Alex Belzil on waivers, and a longtime NHL veteran Islanders forward Leo Komarov. So yes, Uncle Leo is on waivers for the Islanders today. I assume he'll probably clear given his contract. And I would wonder if the Islanders and Lamoriello are going to assign him to the minors or what their plans are. It gives them some flexibility. So we'll see. I know the Islanders are on a 13-game road trip to start the year. Things have not started well. They've had a bunch of losses here to start. So there's already talk that they might want to be changing things up. So this is the start of what that could actually turn out to be. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But we'll find out tomorrow afternoon if Komarov or Belzil ends up clearing waivers, or if we will end up getting ourselves a claim. Quick update on the Olympics regarding Team Russia as their main team we're going to talk about here today. It's been named for the general manager now for Russia is going to be Ilya Kovalchuk, which is quite surprising. Kovalchuk will be the GM, and I guess one of the big reasons he's been chosen is because of his recent experience playing back and forth between the NHL and KHL, that they would have a good be able to prepare the team well, given his knowledge of both leagues. So he is going to be the GM. The head coach is former NHL player Alexei Zamnov, who's had quite a good career himself, and Sergei Fedorov, former NHL superstar, as well as goaltender from the Sharks for a long time, Evgeny Nabokov, are going to be the assistant coaches. So lots of talent and former NHL players there involved with the Russian squad heading to the Beijing Olympics for the hockey tournament. Before we go further in the video, I do need to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. And guess what? Hockey fans are buzzing because hockey is back. Want to know what else is buzzing? The Lawnmower 4.0 from our friends at Manscaped, who are the global leaders in male grooming, trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. I highly recommend the Performance Package 4.0, which includes their new state-of-the-art Lawnmower 4.0, as well as some other great features. The lawnmower itself has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction switch that can engage as a travel lock, gives you the ability to turn on an LED spotlight as well for a more precise shave. Also, as I've mentioned on numerous occasions before, Manscaped is about much more than just a trimmer. They have everything, all aspects covered in male grooming, including some great formulations like their brand new ultra premium body wash to keep you smelling great all day long. It's certainly a big hit here. I absolutely love it. They also have other exfoliators and gels to keep all aspects of your grooming needs covered. I highly recommend you check out manscaped.com. Use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using promo code TSH. Thanks very much for watching our promotional content. I do greatly appreciate it. As I mentioned, we do also have some trade rumors I want to discuss today. First up, the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, we've talked a little bit off and on about a couple of things with Chicago lately. One is Dylan Strome, and two is the contract of Andrew Shea. Both very well could be moved. But when it comes to Strome, I have to think that based on the recent reports, that a deal is getting close, and they're kind of using him in what we would call asset protection. Now, in case you haven't been paying too close attention or watching the Hawks, Dylan Strome can't get into the lineup. But at the same time, the Blackhawks have started struggling mightily hard to start the year. They're having a difficult time putting the puck in the net. They're also having a difficult time defensively. Things are not off to a good start with the Blackhawks this year. And you have a player like Dylan Strome, who is mainly known for his offensive talent. I realize he's been a tad inconsistent at times, but still, if you're looking to, shake things up after a few games and inject some offensive talent in your lineup, he's your guy. But Coach Jeremy Colleton continues to make other changes and not put him in the lineup. He was asked point blank, is this an asset protection situation where you guys are not putting him in the lineup because he's going to be traded or something? He basically talked around the question and just said that they're just trying to put together the best lineup, best chance to win, and didn't really want to get into those kind of details. So obviously, to me, that looks pretty obvious what's going on here. He's been in the rumor mill for some time. We know that the Blackhawks have been linked and wanting to cut cash expenditures here. They want to cut down what's going out. If they move the Strome contract and the Andrew Shea contract, they do have means to become cap compliant without being an LTIR, so they can actually accrue cap space heading towards the deadline, so they have more options later in the year. So it is a possibility we could see that, but you have to think something's getting close here, and discussions are going on behind the scenes, considering he can't even get into the lineup. And they can't score goals. It only makes sense in my opinion. So we're going to have to monitor that situation and see what happens in the short term here. I don't think we're too far off from seeing a trade out of Chicago. And when it comes to the Avalanche, of course, many people were extremely surprised, as was I, hearing in the last 24 to 36 hours that the Avalanche had acquired on Jack Eichel. Clearly, as Elliot Friedman reported, those conversations didn't get too far. They didn't get into talking specifics about a deal and who the Avalanche would give up for Eichel. The main thing they discussed is salary retention. The Sabres did not have any interest, and the Avalanche made it clear that we have lots of prospects here we can talk about. However, if you're not able to retain salary, we can't do the deal because we're too constricted with cap situation to take on $10 million without having some help in that regard. Now, it's been noted, though, that the Sabres are willing to take back some contracts to make things work as long as they get enough, future assets, you could say, to make them satisfied. And you might even have to sweeten the deal a little bit to get them to do that. It's difficult to say, but there are some already saying if the Avalanche are inquiring on Jack Eichel, clearly they have intentions on trying to bulk up with a big, time player ahead of the playoffs. So if it's not Eichel, who are they going to turn their attention to next? I mean, you look around the NHL, and there's certainly some other players that are big names that are rumored to maybe be available that could certainly add an extra element of offense with that team, whether it's a guy like Johnny Gaudreau or Patrick Laine, for example, something like that. If Washington fell out, I know Kuznetsov's a player, but again, that's a hefty contract as well. So I don't know exactly if it has to be a centerman or they're just looking to add a big-time player. But certainly a team like the Avalanche know that the way their cap is structured, they do have a window that is set for them to be able to win here in the short term. But as this goes on a few more years, it's going to get really tough for the Avalanche to continue to be that championship caliber team as they get more of these contracts kicking in, and they're going to have to extend McKinnon, and it's just going to get tougher and tougher to keep the band together. So why not try to make as much of a run for it as you can while that window is open and you have all these options and you're considered, a Stanley Cup favorite. So it wouldn't be shocking at all to see them bulk up. It is believed that a guy like Nazem Kadri might be available for trade if the right deal comes along to help offset the money aspect of things. Clearly, I think they were disappointed with him, like the Leafs were in years past, that they could not rely on him in the playoffs. He ended up getting suspended yet again, and that certainly played a role in their demise. I mean, it certainly wasn't the main big reason, but everything helps and everything contributes to it. And when you can't rely on some of your, top players to be in the lineup because of stuff like that, that does certainly hurt a little bit. And the Kadri contract is getting to a situation where it doesn't have a ton of term or money left on it. So other teams would be pretty interested, especially for what kind of player you normally get from him in that regard. But could the Avalanche turn their attention to somebody else if this Eichel deal is not going to work out for them? It makes you wonder just how scary of a threat they could be as we get closer to the NHL trade deadline going into the playoffs. Let me know your thoughts on that and everything else discussed here today down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.